We are back at Museum in Lotus, episode 17 today. Today is a must-watch because the artifacts we are talking about today, they are extremely heavy. It took 3 people to move every single one of them. But before we talk about the artifacts today that are not selling, Master Yun's private collection, but it's great items and you're here, you can enjoy, you can have first-hand experience about them. And like the big Buddha behind us, a lot of people have been coming to the gallery to pray to it. Before that, because Mr. Pino, you were with us during the recent Chinese New Year Reblessing celebration.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, and you were with Ashley.
Yes.
And both of you were talking about, for instance, this Qing Dynasty table, the pillar of light, the pillar.
Yes.
And also the
Hibachi, the
hibachi.
brazier.
Right. So this is the second time for you?
It's the second time, a very pleasurable experience. Again, the communication within the group, 5 people, was excellent. So we built teamwork. It was nice to be interviewed, if you wish,
right,
by Ashley.
Yes.
To provide the information available to me and the understanding of the pieces, and then also verifying the connection between each of the pieces with what Master Yun did. And in particular, I make reference to the rings, to the blessing of the rings, and to the light, to the pillar of light.
Right.
I think that was very significant. And also the analogy and the beauty of the hibachi, again, the brazier, the Japanese brazier, which is Edo period, together with a wonderful one-in, which is a spectacular piece, really a museum one.
Absolutely. The friends of us, today is the day that I need you to like and share. I was saying just now, I see a lot of friends coming in. I really need you to like and share and get your friends to do it because I was saying the artifacts around me, they are extremely heavy. If not, you don't believe, you can come to the gallery and try. But before that, I was asking Mr. Pino about the experience on Chinese New Year event. I think we should come back to some of the artifacts that you mentioned during the celebration because you only had about 7 to 8 minutes per segment.
Yes.
I think there's a lot more to explore about some of them.
Exactly. It could have been much longer, but we had to respect the time. We had somebody looking at us and making sure that we did not overlap.
Absolutely.
But again, the overall organization was very good, and I enjoyed myself.
That's great, yeah. The Qing Dynasty table, we talked about it before, the one that's right in front of us, that we are familiar. And this was the one that Master Yun used to stamp the seals of the Heart Sutra. In fact, till today, if you come to the gallery, you still can see the traces of vermilion that's on the table.
Yes.
Well, I think it's like allowing these artifacts that's from Qing Dynasty, that's from 200-300 years ago to come alive.
To relive, absolutely, yes.
And you mentioned about the pillar of light, the Carrera lamp, the tall one. I think this is the second time.
This is the second time.
It, to have your Heaven and Earth Jedi rings to be reblessed on it. Previously, during winter solstice, we had 91 of such treasures. This time round, because so many people are coming in, we have 99 of it. Some people who have 2 rings, we have to put them together, so we accommodate a bit more space. But that's pretty much the maximum that we can go.
Yes.
So the next round, I think during the next round, which is going to be in June,
yes,
that's our anniversary of the gallery. We will have another major celebration. Not sure if by then we can have a physical event or not, but whichever there is, I think the pillar of light, the Carrera lamp will be present still. So if you haven't gotten your ring, this is the time to actually plot for it, to get it done, and so that by June you will have a chance to have your Heaven and Earth Jedi ring reblessed on the Carrera lamp. And the hibachi. We've got to talk about the hibachi more, huh?
We have to, yes. We have to be a little bit more detailed. We have to explain, or I like to share a little bit more about it. I mean, this is an Edo period.
It's the Edo period, yeah.
This is early 19th century, and the finesse of the work is just outstanding. It's a whole wood, which is been carved out, and then inside there's a beautiful hand-beaten copper, beautiful hand-beaten copper, and the way it has oxidated over the time. And if you consider there were ashes and charcoal burning, and again to allow people to warm their hands. So beautiful significance.
Mr. Giuseppe De Giosa,
Yes.
Mr. Pino mentioned Edo period. I think that this live session that we have, just in the case that you do not know, we are actually every single week, we are collating materials, and this will eventually be published as a book. And so far, I think the results have been quite amazing, huh?
Amazing.
Yeah, so,
Yes.
and then we'll, of course, we'll have recap segments about this whole thing. That's why, but we try to do it live so we get spontaneous reactions from both of us. We talked about the Meiji chest,
Yes.
which many of y'all have put your 5 path of wealth incense in it. That is from 1868, am I right? 1868?
That is, again...
Meiji period, sorry.
This is the end of the 1868, the end of the Meiji period, beginning of the Tashu period.
Correct. So Meiji period started from 1868 to about
Ended.
Ended Meiji?
The Meiji ended 1868.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought it started in 1868. Did it?
1860. You're absolutely right. I'm
Yeah.
confused. 1868 to 1912. Yes.
Edo ended 1868.
Yes.
So, you know, the last dynasty that we saw, now is modern Japan, but previously it was Meiji period.
Yes.
Then came all the wars, so 1868 and onwards. But when Mr. Pino mentioned about Edo period, which in Chinese we call it 江户时代,
Yes.
it's when a lot of people, if you're absorbed in animes and mangas, all this stuff, correct? Actually, they were more portraying those periods.
Yes.
Where the samurais were everywhere,
Yes.
where ninjas were everywhere. That was Edo period. So it was pre-Meiji period. And Master Yin used the hibachi thing to actually light the scriptures and burn it in.
Beautiful.
Right? You saw it was
Beautiful,
spectacular.
beautiful, spectacular.
So that's the whole thing. We're going to talk about it, but somewhere, hopefully next week. So you got to watch. It's really a piece of art that has gone on for so many centuries, right? So now the thing is, today we're going to talk about something else. And I think today is really an episode that please like and share, because I really had 3 strong men to actually carry all these things here. They saw it, they said, I think I can, but it's actually extremely heavy. 3 Buddhas that are around us today.
Yes.
We talk about a mega one, which is in this gallery at one corner.
Yes.
And it's magnificent. The colored glass and how it looks upon you, it really feels as if there's a photo, that they took that I was standing, because it's definitely larger than human size. I was standing there, and it was as if the Buddha was looking at me. This Buddha is going to be here for quite some while. If you come by the gallery and you're allowed to come in this VIP gallery, you must come and see. But these 3 godly Buddha statues around me today, how should we proceed and share this joy and blessing with all of y'all?
There's a reason why tonight, out of the collection of Mr. Yun, these 3 pieces have been selected. There's a purpose
segment.
For tonight's section. There's a reason, and there's an understanding which I will share with you about these 3 Buddhas, which have different provenance. Now, can I start with this amazing, tall, standing Buddha? Again, bronze. This bronze is phenomenal.
This is standing, as in this is actually from the ground.
Yes.
No support, unlike this, standing Buddha.
Standing Buddha.
And it's about 1.6, 1.5, yeah.
If we consider the Ushnisha, it would be 1.5, 1.6 meter.
Okay.
Stands on a beautiful double pedestal.
Right.
If you look at the base, it's hexagonal. And on top of the base, there's a round, beautiful lotus.
Right.
Now, if we look on top of the lotus, we see that there's still wonderful remnants of the lacquer, and this is the black lacquer, but also the red pigmented lacquer.
Which means that originally, this bronze sculpture, which by the way, do you have an estimate of how heavy this might be?
Can I say I wouldn't possibly know exactly, but I say over 100 kilos?
Yes, because 3 of us were carrying it today, including myself. And when we carry it, we have a feeling that it was above 100 kg. And okay, my friends, this is above 100 kg. Can you imagine the significance of this thing? This is above 100 kg. And Mr. Pino is telling us that originally it was supposed to be black and red, and with gold.
Black, and it would be gilded.
Right.
Now, the black lacquer can only be seen in spots.
Which you can see some remnants of the black.
Some we can see. And then we would have the gilding. Interestingly enough, I think the red lacquer at the bottom was meant to create a difference in the colors.
Right, right. So it was supposed to be red and black mainly.
Correct. And then the gilding.
And then the gold gilding, yes.
And again, on the red lacquer, we still see remnants of the gilding. Now, let me tell you, this is an 18th century period, beautiful bronze. The technique was the lost wax, and it comes from one particular area which does no longer exist.
Okay, so it's from 18th century,
18th
300 years
century.
old.
Yes.
And the 17th episode of Museum Lotus,
yes.
I'm not sure whether you've seen a lot of artifacts. You've seen Yuan Dynasty lions. That's like 500-600 years.
Absolutely beautiful.
This is 300 over years. But what caught my attention, if I apologize if I interrupt
Not
you,
at all.
is that you mentioned that this comes from an area that does not exist anymore.
No longer.
So
And that is, first of all, the kingdom I would like to mention. And the kingdom is called Lana. And this is one of the oldest kingdoms in Thailand, even older than the kingdom of Ayutthaya.
Oh.
This goes from the 13th century to the 18th century.
This kingdom you mentioned,
Yes,
it's from 13th century to the 18th century.
18th century.
And this kingdom no longer exists.
No longer exists. The actual area would be the northern part of Thailand bordering with West Laos.
That means that in today's geographic and political context,
Yes,
where this amazing Buddha is from, it's actually from the jurisdiction of Thailand.
jurisdiction of Thailand.
But back then, it wasn't Thailand yet.
It was not Thailand yet.
It belongs to this kingdom called Lana.
Lana.
I could read about this. I have not heard of this kingdom before.
Lana, yes.
Okay.
And the artifacts are basically named Lana objects. And this is a Lana object, but actually people who go in depth this subject would definitely call this a Chan Sang piece.
Chang Sen. That means you are telling us that there is a school of thought, or there is an institution, or there is a category that is especially meant for rare artifacts as such.
Yes.
Because this area no longer exists.
No longer exists.
This area spans from 13th to 18th century.
Correct.
And there's the whole category named to it. It's called Nana artifacts.
Lana.
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 LN, yeah, Lana.
Yes, Lana.
Artifacts or Cheng San pieces.
Yes.
So there's a whole category to this. The entire region does not exist, which means that, can I guess that the number of artifacts from this region, there aren't a lot of it?
Not only there are not too many, but let me tell you, Mr. Khan, the rarity of this piece stands in the fact that it's a standing Buddha,
Yeah,
very difficult to find in collections.
I think so.
So this is extremely special. And when I go a little bit in details without bothering, I will let you know why it's very significant and very important, and why we decided tonight to start by describing this piece and go step by step to the others.
Right.
Now, by virtue of the fact that, as you mentioned, the Lana kingdom and the Chenseng basically absorbed but also provided to the Thai people and to the Laotian people elements. And this, in many ways, is a fusion. Therefore, I will indicate, in my opinion, which are the elements typically Thai and the elements in which are typical Laotian.
You are telling us that this piece or this region called La Na
Yes.
or Cheng San is that it provides a mix or a cross of
The two cultures,
Thais and Laos.
Cultures.
I like that thing because you know on many of our different episodes we mentioned about actually how when we go back in time we realize that actually a lot of cultures they have really gone mixing and influencing each other. We talk about Chinese and Italian.
Correct.
Right? We talk about Master's painting, which actually has the same elements as well. So this one is unique, and I think we are extremely privileged. You are extremely privileged because you can come here and see this particular piece that is over 100 kg, that is from 300 years ago, and this region no longer exists, but it provides a reference point about what is Thai and Laotian culture
Absolutely.
influencing both.
Together.
And you're right, you know, I caught that point that if I were a crafter, I would not do a standing Buddha sculpture because it takes a lot of material. The proportions are actually more difficult to get, and it's extremely heavy, difficult to move around.
Let me add, this was a beautiful piece which would stand in a place of worship.
Yes.
And therefore, the spirit of the craftsman was in some way excited by what it would represent and where he would be standing. And the prayers that people would refer to this particular Buddha.
I see. Okay.
Let me touch briefly, if you wish,
Yes.
about Yushnisha.
Yes.
Again, we see the black and the gold.
There's the remnants of the gold gilding. We
Correct,
see that.
and the gold gilding. Then when we look at the hair, we see different sizes. They look like snails, and there is a reason why they look like snails. We've in the past said that the nail covered the head of the Buddha when the Buddha was meditating, and that is to protect its head.
Right.
When we look at the ears, they're elongated, and the tip just protrudes slightly outwards.
This you have to come and see because that slight touch that you mentioned, I saw it. It's like, that's a great touch.
It's a little great touch, which we will be exaggerated in the other Buddha, which I will basically touch base with you. Now, when we look at the eyebrows, you know, splendidly rendered and meets the very fine nose, spectacular in my opinion,
Right.
The lids of the eyes, and the eyes are almost three-quarter covered. We can see the background of the eyes white. Again, it could be either bone or it could be mother of pearl.
Right.
Extremely beautiful is that the pupil, the back pupil, basically protrudes. And this is the first time that I've seen anything of this kind and this quality.
Which means the eye white shares the same construct as the Mega Mandalay one.
Correct.
But the pupil, as you mentioned, I observe as well. It's
Protruding.
stunning. Yeah.
Protruding and very shining. Now, we look at the lips. I mean, they give us a sense of a smile, of acceptance, of calmness, of beauty. Then, something which is peculiar to this particular figure is, if you see here,
The chin.
the chin.
What about the chin?
Can you see the chin?
Is it?
Rarely you see it.
Is it? I mean, it's not.
You can't see it here. You can't see in the Mandalay. But
Why?
in this piece, can I say, is just to represent the human figures and therefore the human facial expression. And there are people who do have the chin. And that is exactly what they wanted to represent. So it's a particular aspect of this specific figure.
Right.
Now, elongated ears, and we know it's about
Wisdom.
it's the wisdom, it's about the Buddha abandoning the wealth, the princely wealth. Then we go to the shoulders, very well proportioned.
Right.
We see that the chest represents only one nipple on the naked part. Then we see the wonderful sash in the front with a little bit of decoration. We see the belly button. And the robe basically goes and protrudes on the sides of the body.
Right.
Slender figure. Look at the arms. How well defined are they? And the arms basically finish with beautiful hands, and the tip of the finger basically are outside protruding.
Yes.
Now, you can see that the difference is that the toe and the rest of the fingers are slightly different. When we look at the robe, again, we see the remnants of the gilding and the lacquer, the black lacquer. It's wearing a beautiful attire, and it has almost a skirt. Again, this is wrapped. And finally, we see the feet. The feet are parallel. There's a little gap in between, and the definition of each of the toe is very splendid. The toe are at the same level of length, and then we see the nails. Not only the nails of the toes, but also the nails of the finger. An extremely beautiful piece, worshipped in perfect condition, and this summarizes my little description of this amazing figure.
It's actually amazing.
Amazing.
I mean, the dang goodness thing is that because of the hairstyle that
Yes.
Buddha has, or the snail thing, we can see a lot of gold that still remains on it, which we can extrapolate or we can imagine that that's how it was and the magnificence of it in its original form. So this piece, being such significant and from an era so long ago, a region no longer exists, and the sheer weight, I talked to my guys, I talked to Kola, we're going to exhibit it, we're going to have it here, right next to that corner there. So when you light incense in this gallery, you can make your prayers to it. That corner would be, of course, the mega one that's there. I hope that it can bring you the blessings that it brought to many people back then and to you today.
I would like to say one more thing, which I didn't mention earlier. What is the position? I mean, with parallel arms, beautiful. The palms are pointing down towards the hearth. And if we look, it has a very Laotian, basically, design,
Right.
which is calling for the rain.
We talked about this
We talked about
in the
this.
earlier episodes.
Calling for the rain. So I can imagine those poor farmers going and worshiping this Buddha and actually asking to have the rain which would nourish their fields so they could plant rice.
Oh, that makes all sense because the area that I'm going to position this Chingsan, yeah,
Chingsang.
Lana
Yes.
piece, it's right there, which is the area of wealth, energy for this 2022.
Yes.
Calling for rain, as we mentioned in earlier episodes, actually represents, calling for prosperity, and it's pretty much on the same level. So when you're lighting incense in this gallery, please remember to pay respect to this Buddha as well, because it's going to give you a lot of rain. Yeah.
One was the request of the devotees, the Buddhists. But this position is basically signifying summoning the rain
Yes.
to come down. So in response of the request
Yes.
of the farmers.
In fact,
So this is giving instruction. This is the strength,
Right.
the authority that the Buddha has.
I think after you tell me this, I'm going to elevate it slightly, a bit more, because it deserves to be on a higher platform.
I would suggest
Yes.
to the audience, make the time.
Yeah.
Come and see. And not only you will be able to appreciate this wonderful standing Buddha, but you will be able to appreciate the other two, which I'm going to introduce, and mostly the differences which each one of them has.
All right. Shall we proceed to the second one?
Let's proceed with the second one. And this one is in the middle. Again, 18th century, typical Laotian.
This is Laotian.
100% Laotian.
Laotian, 18th century. Okay.
No
Yeah.
doubt whatsoever about the provenance. Look at the characteristic. I would like to start by just describing briefly the hexagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 octagonal, therefore.
Yeah.
6?
6.
6. Hexagonal base, plain, very simple. You need to come and look yourself because the Sanskrit that you see here is very marginally visible. You need to come here, put on the torch, and look. Unfortunately, we don't have the description of the script, but it would be extremely interesting. On top of this simple layer or step, we have a second one, very beautiful. It represents a lotus, and you can see that the petals of the lotus have this little element protruding outside and defining the petal itself. Thirdly, we have something which is very uncommon, and that is the stamen of the flower. One after the other, one different from the other. On top of it sits cross-legged the Buddha.
Yes.
Again, we in the past mentioned about a mantra, and a Tibetan mantra, which is Om Mani Padme Om.
Yes.
What does
The
it
Liu
mean?
Zi Zhen Yan, Om Mani Padme Hum. Yes.
And what does it mean, and why do I refer to this mantra? The mantra means that the jewel is in the flower of lotus. And therefore the jewel is, at the end of the day, the Buddha, the
Absolutely.
holy Buddha. So that is the significance of many times when we look at the Buddha and we see that the base is a lotus. Now, let's look at the Ushnisha, which is the flame, out of proportion, but very, very beautiful. Let's look again at the snail-like hair. Again, little differences. Then the hair are separated by the face by a little beautiful line which demarcates the hair from the face.
You got to come here and see this yourself.
touch it.
You got to feel yourself, I tell you. If this piece belonged to any museums, it will be kept, as I mentioned before, it will be kept far, far away. You cannot observe with your eyes. But here, since it's part of Master collection, you got to come and feel yourself. And you have the chance, yeah.
And you're right. You have to feel. You have to touch it. From the opposite side of the face, we see the elongated ears.
Yes.
But again, as in the previous case, they were at the tip protruding. This protrusion
It's more obvious.
even more evident. A beautiful detail to this wonderful face. When you look at the face, it's relatively small in respect of the feature of the face. Actually, whilst the previous Buddha had a round face, typical of the Thai figure, this has a triangular face.
Yes, it does, yeah.
It has a triangular face. Again, the eyebrows. Look at the lids of the eyes. They're almost completely closed, signifying that the Buddha is in a state of meditation.
Right.
The nose is relatively long, angular. Look at the upper lips and the segment that has been created. And the lips are still relatively large. Together, again, a smile that you can only have when you are meditating.
So this is a Buddha in meditation.
In meditation. I will describe the different mudra. The one before is calling for the rain. This instead is a different mudra, and this is the mudra that basically asks the earth to testify the enlightenment.
Right.
The bhumi sparsa.
Because of this one.
Because of this one. You look at the arms, Mr. Khan, very long.
Yes.
And exaggerated long. Look at the hands in proportion to the body,
The fingers are long,
very
yeah.
big. Look at the length of the fingers, very long. You even look at the foot, and actually you look at the back of the foot. Again, this is a big foot.
Yeah.
The foot, again, I'm not trying to say anything wrong, of a farmer. So very much something rural. And there is a connection between the people and the Buddha.
Right.
Let me tell you about my own experience. When I traveled to Laos, Luang Prabang, and I saw the caves, and I saw the many Buddhas inside, many in this similar position, they all seem to share the same type of face, triangular. Again, the features were not refined, were not as beautiful as what you normally find in the Thai and the Burmese iconography. But they're splendid. And can I say, I have a particular personal liking for the Laotian Buddhas.
Right.
Now, let's just indicate some differences. When you look at we have a beautiful,
Sash.
again, sash. At the end of the sash, there's basically a design. The kind of bronze is basically rather dark, which is covered by gilding.
Yes. So
Now,
I won't say it's obsession, but whether it was the Lost region or Laotian, we see the gold. This one has a lot that's remaining on it, though it's 18th century.
yes,
The obsession with using gold on the body of Buddhas.
it's the recognition of the authority. I mean, if you consider in those days to have gold leaf was not
Yes.
something common, and
Correct.
it would be
Absolutely.
extremely costly. But they wanted to offer, again, the best of the best that they could.
Right.
Look at the pedestal
Yes.
versus the body of the Buddha. The pedestal is relatively tall. Again, an indication of the high respect of the Buddha in the faith.
The status.
Yes. Again, it gives authority. Look at the beautiful meditation status, the details, and the proportion wrong, but yet very, very beautiful.
Right. Right, you really got to come here and experience this, because I think Mr. Pino has given us a very good breakdown of many different details. But what I personally like about this piece, or what is remaining of it, is that the amount of gold is amazing. We can still see it.
It's still amazing. Yes, very much so.
And we were just talking before the show starts at how great a companion, or how great a relation it is that this gold gilded Laotian 18th century Buddha in meditation mode corresponds with Master Yun's painting, which is in the background. And even the frame of Master Yun's painting comes to life, as if this is the exact background of where the Buddha used to be. This painting, it's I just have to talk about a little bit about this painting. It's called a Wall of Gems. I mean, it can be a Great Wall, etc. But we see that it's full of gold as well. It's like a golden wall. And what Master Yun does to the painting, the 24K gold, I think was pretty much, or it corresponds, or it correlates to how in the past they were using the gold and apply it to this sculpture here. This whole set, this whole environment, just, how do I put it? Yeah, it's stunning. Yeah, how do I even put it? Yeah,
it's simply stunning.
It's beyond words. Yeah. So, you know, so this wonderful sculpture, I'm not going to move it. Number one, it's extremely heavy. Once again, that was extremely heavy. This was extremely heavy as well. It took 3 of us to move this.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
It's super solid. Okay, so you got to come here and see it and take a photo of it together with Master Yun's painting in the background. Yeah.
I mean, I'm observing once again with much appreciation about the petals of the lotus, and as it moves, all the petals also have a different size. And again, look at the red here as opposed to the black of the bronze and the gilding.
Yes, that means that this has the same colors. This might have had the same colors as that piece.
Yes.
Because if we see any remnants of red, it was on the lotus as well.
Yes.
So they really try to sort of realistically represent the lotus with a red pigment.
Correct. Because the hexagonal base is brown, the color.
Right.
It's just that the flower is represented in red. And red means purity.
Right.
Which is a typical element that is attributed to the lotus.
And the body of the Buddha himself, it's in gold.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So beautiful facial expression, definitely a rural piece, but full of power, full of dignity, and amazing. And look the way he stands straight.
You come here and experience this yourself. This is, as Mr. Pino mentioned, the first one you talk about is from a lost region. This is from the Chengshan area, or they call it Lana piece.
This is Lana.
Oh, sorry, that's Lana. This is Laotian.
This is pure Laotian.
Laotian piece is extremely heavy, over 100 kgs, I think. But we have something that's a bit different here as well.
Yes.
The third one. All of them are bronze.
All of them are bronze, but as we're going along in this, and I'm describing each of the piece, please look at the differences of the color of the bronzes. Of course, this one, the Chengsen, was all covered by black, lacquered, and was also covered by gilding.
Right.
But the time has worn off both the gilding and
the lacquer.
And therefore, we see the original bronze, which is oxidized, and the color is still extremely interesting of the bronze. Now here, we have a typical Thai Buddha.
Yes.
And this one was made in the Ayutthaya period. The Ayutthaya period is basically 400 years. It goes from the 14th to the 18th century, whilst the other one is 13 to the 18. Look at the body.
Yes.
Look at the elegance. Look at all the refinement. It's almost aristocratic, which is not wrong, because Buddha was a prince. And here stands tall, firmly on layers and layers of pedestal, very finely and minutely finished. And at the top, we see again a lotus with petals.
So we have a lotus
Yes.
here. We have 2 to 3 layers.
2 or 3. We have the simple one at the base,
Yeah.
and then the ornate one, the first one. Then we have a second one which has 4 points, which may mean the north, the south,
Yeah.
the west,
Yeah.
correct,
Okay.
and the east may
Right.
mean.
Right. So I find this piece super interesting because of how this whole rim of something, how it protrudes.
Yes.
And you know, if you observe enough, I've been rubbing my fingers along this because it feels great. You should come and try it, because this is, I don't see it in the other 2, you know?
No.
But this is full of details.
Very elaborate.
This is from the Ayutthaya kingdom.
Ayutthaya kingdom. And let's not forget that the capital, the second capital of the Siam, actually we should talk about the Ayutthaya kingdom,
Right.
was actually Ayutthaya, a city
I see.
which was very important and actually became almost an international place between the 15th to the 16th century and thereafter.
Right.
Now, let's look at the Ushnisha. Again, the Enlightenment is very nice, very simple. Look at the air. Again, I'm repeating myself because they're all similar. Peppercorn shape,
Yes.
elongated ears,
Yes.
and a round face, typical of the Thai, round face. Each feature of the face is extremely delicate. Again, it was about making beautiful the feature. Everything in perfect proportion. There's nothing wrong in this piece. Look at the elongated arms, okay? And when we look at the left arms, which has beautiful hands. This is the only piece that I've illustrated so far where the elongated also fingers are all different, one from the other. Because usually,
You're right. You are absolutely correct. This is level.
this is all level.
Yeah, they're level. Then I was looking at this. Oh my God, this one, it's different. This is different.
All different.
This is different.
Look at the position of the thumb that basically at the tip, together with the rest of the finger, goes outwards, gently outwards. Now, when we look at the upper part of the body, it's basically naked. We see the nipples. We see the skirt-like robe, and the skirt-like robe basically protrudes from the 2 sides.
Yes.
The feet are parallel. Again, when you look at the toes, they're all of the same length. In between the 2 feet, there's a little gap. What is the mudra of this one? Now, for each of the pieces that I've presented, there's a different mudra.
May I guess?
Yes.
So that piece, we know the mudra. Mudra is 它的手势. That means that it's
The position
positioning,
of,
which
of
means
the
different
hands.
things, right?
Yes.
you're not familiar with this, it's a bit like Doctor Strange in the Marvel movies. Different hand signs, different things. That is calling for rain. We know.
Calling for, and typical Laotian.
Laotian, typical Laotian, calling for rain. This is when we see this hand is like that.
Pointing at the earth.
Earth is 2D, so in Chinese we call it 2D. That means it's meditation. There was the disturbance of the demons, but with that, eradicate all this and to justify his enlightenment. Am I correct?
It's exactly enlightenment, and basically making sure that the defeat of the
evils.
The evil which is represented by the demon king Mara.
Mara, correct, yes. So this one, I think the key thing is with this hand here, which is like this. And,
both hands
both
are
hands.
just amazing.
Am I right? This is actually to stop an argument, to bring peace and...
You have 100% hit on the nail.
Yeah.
The representation of the mudra is the Abhaya mudra.
Yes.
And the Abhaya mudra means few things, which I will tell you. Is basically, first of all, is the dispel of fear. It would be peace, which you've just mentioned.
Yeah.
Benevolence and protection.
Right.
Now, when I say these few meanings, is what I would wish for myself and for any of my loved ones, is not to have fear. In other words, to be at peace.
Yes.
To be benevolent towards others, and at the same time receive the benevolence of others, and finally, to have the sense of protection.
Right.
So important. Who would not wish this for oneself and for your loved ones?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have, and especially Mr. Pino, you have introduced to us a array of different pieces that are unique in their timeline, that are unique in where they come from, the regions, and the meaning. To pray for rain, against evil, bringing peace and prosperity and no fear. And the common thing about them is that they use heavy metal. It's like bronze, which is super heavy. And a lot of gold was involved. I understand and I know why now that the correlation with these and Master Yuan's artwork and feng shui art is that of course the heavy dependence and the usage of gold, and also that how it actually brings rain, prosperity, how it actually chases away evil, and how it actually allows you to see beyond what you're limited today into a state of fearlessness to step into the future. So these three Buddhas, initially what I wanted is that after this session, I will put these two here, but after seeing this and touching and feeling it, you know what, I'm just going to leave this in this gallery as well. So when you're here in this gallery, you can come here and experience all three of them. And of course, including the big one that's behind us, yeah.
Now, I also mentioned about the use of the gilding. There's no gilding here.
There's no gilding at all?
There's no gilding whatsoever.
Okay.
The patination and the color given to the bronze is exquisite.
Right.
And if you look carefully at the color, it's a sort of amber with a tinge of gold. Magnificent. So in indicating and illustrating each of these Buddhas, there's also the difference in the bronze. So not only in the position, not only in the mudra, but also with regard to the colors. So a nice, beautiful collection, very well put together, which offers us the possibility of representing the pieces, the detail. When you come here, and please do come here, take the time, it's totally worth it. I've been repeating this for many items, but these three together, really exceptional. Look at this figure, basically the figure of no fear, let's call it fear not actually. Look at the side.
Yeah.
How elegant it is. And the arm that Mr. Khan at the moment is touching, if you look at the hand, is softly holding the robe.
God, it's extremely heavy.
Softly holding the robe. Wonderful. And even from the back, you can see the movements, how straight and beautiful and firmly the piece stands. Yes, yes.
You can see the entire curvature as well.
Yes. And the color of the bronze, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful.
It's really something that you have to come here to the gallery to experience. Please don't lift it because it's extremely heavy. You might hurt yourself, but you can definitely be like me. Touch it and then the feeling about it, really. And at the same time, enjoy Master art along with these precious and rare and never coming back again artifacts. I think that is really something to have. Especially since now we started by saying that it was a Chinese New Year event.
Yes.
Now it's post-Chinese New Year per se. So it's really a good time to settle down and get a lot of blessings and from all these amazing pieces.
And at this point in time, if this setting is left as it is for a period of time, you will actually be able to see also the Mandalay piece. So we have 4 different provenance, 4 different locations where they come from, and each one really different. I mean, the Mandalay is about giving blessing.
Yes.
It's about solving medical problems again, and it's because in between 2 fingers there's a little fruit.
Yes, right. So come here to the gallery to experience all this, as I said, mentioned, along with Master Yun's art and his feng shui painting and calligraphy. As you talked about, I think this is really a good match. It brings out the gold in both Master Yun's art and the sitting Laotian Buddha that I have with me here. When you light your incense here, offer your incense to these Buddhas. I think it will be a great blessing.
Absolutely. And the background of this painting has to stay also for a while.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it stay. I'm not gonna change it. Yeah,
it's just perfect.
I gave them specific instructions that today we have to change the painting for it. It's a lot of hassle, but we changed the painting for it. And somehow my guy chose this thing, which is like a great thing. It's the wall of gems, wall of gold, wall of silver, along with this centerpiece that is so golden. I think it's amazing experience. You to come here to experience yourself.
And museum in Lotus. I mean, how more it can be reiterated the concept that within the premises of Lotus, we have museum pieces.
So tomorrow, Wednesday, the gallery is not open, but Thursday and Friday, please feel free to come down and enjoy. Let us know after 3 o'clock. And please like and share our Facebook and then keep attention to our notifications. I think you'll be getting a lot more different announcements. Next week, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about the hibachi.
Yes, we have to touch on the hibachi without any doubts.
Yes, the hibachi was the one that Master used to burn the paper that has all the Heart Sutra seals on it. Mr. Pino briefly touched upon it on the show day itself, but I think it deserves a lot of attention.
A lot of attention needs to be explained, the techniques and all the little feature which were not basically illustrated.
Yes, so you would know your reblessing that Master has done for you, the paints and the different details that we have taken care of it. We'll talk about it next week.
Yes.
Hibachi.
And I hope the audience has enjoyed this presentation.
Right, yes. Cheers.
Cheers.
And see you next week. Yeah.